I kind of just put a bunch of answer keys to stuff at the top, so that way it's just kind of like everything's there. So I have a very detailed answer key that I did not make, but it's really good, to the CFU that we went over last time that were like real ugly. Remember those? Okay. I showed you an answer key, but if you want to like study or look at it again, linked right there. This is an answer key to the pink sheet. So don't go copy that down right now because we're going to spend some time and do it, but it is there for you to check your work. This is also like kind of lumped in with the Delta Math. Like the Delta Math needs to be at 100%, plus the pink sheet needs to be done for retest purposes. I have a quick review sheet over like increase, decrease, positive, and negative that I'm going to give you. There is a key to that. I have not put an answer key to today's CFU because you're about to take it some point in class today, but I will before the test day. And then I have an answer key to the test review as well. So all of this is up at the top. Instead of putting each day, I figured I'd just put it at the top. But I do have the test review here as well. So here's our plan. We need to finish up the notes on page 20 and 21. And then I'm going to give you some time to work on that pink sheet. And then that warm up that I was talking about, that kind of just reviews stuff from last week, the increase, decrease, positive and negative, domain and range. It's just a vocab thing. But I think it's helpful to, if you know the vocab, then, you should know what you're doing. We'll take that check for understanding probably in the middle-ish of class. And then I'm probably going to let y'all just like grade yourself. So that way you can like get the answers and know how you did today instead of me taking it up and taking time for that. And then I'm going to give you your test review. Probably not going to have like a tremendous amount of time to do the test review in class. I am sorry, but you need to have it done. You're going to turn it in. The answer key is on Canvas, so there's really no excuse for not having it done, okay? But that's what's happening there. Test is Thursday, Friday, 2 different grades. Retest happening next week, okay? Let's keep going. So all this is there, calendar, keys, links, all the good stuff. Utilize that. You've got tons of stuff for review. Oh, there's also something else that I put on Delta Math. That is optional, not required whatsoever. Come on, Delta Math. Log in. OMG. But it's to help with transformations. Let me see if it's up there. Geometry. Where's geometry? Oh, no, we don't geometry in here. So this needs to be at 100. The required practice should be at 100. I reminded y'all of an email of that yesterday. That should have been done 2 classes ago. This is an optional thing. It's really just to help you. It's long, but it's just to help you understand the transformation rules. Use it or don't. It's there, or you can just not do it. I don't care. It's just one of the other teachers made it, and I thought, I'm going to put that just in case anyone wants it. But transformation rules, we kind of got a little bit crunched for time with the exploration thing. But we did write all of this down last class. You do have to know what all these transformations do. It's not necessarily that you have to memorize this entire sheet, but you need to be able to interpret from an equation, like where is the number, what is it affecting, what does that like do to your graph. So one thing that I want to do is actually write this coordinate rule because we ran out of time for that. So this will help us, and you'll see it on the pink sheet. But if you have like, y'all know when I was doing Move the Monster and I was like writing my rule for my table, like this is what's happening to each value, I always want you to put that in your table. So we just did like one at a time with our little Move the Monster thing. We're building up to where we have a lot at a time, okay? So when you have lots of different letters, here's how everything kind of affects. I'm going to do the Y value first. We know that the outside transformations, which are A and D, those are going to affect our Y values. Those are all vertical transformations. They don't do anything weird. They just like do exactly what the operation says. So A is a multiplier. So if you have an A value, you will multiply that A value by Y. Okay, does that make sense if I write it like that? A, Y, A times Y. So whatever that number is, positive, negative, whole number, fraction, just put it in front of Y and it multiplies. The D transformation, whatever that is, you're going to follow that operation on Y. So the way it's written in here is that it's added. Okay? So again, you just take those numbers, multiply them by Y, add them to Y. You have to do them in that order as far as like your calculations. You're following PEMDAS for that. So the Y's are pretty easy. Okay? The X's, those two transformations that are horizontal that affect X are the ones that are inside. Okay? Inside we know is opposite. There was some confusion with the negative. So by my fourth time to do yesterday's lesson, I kind of got a good way to explain it. It's the opposite operation when it comes to you're doing the opposite of adding or subtracting. So if it is a minus sign in your table, you will use a plus. If it's a plus sign in the equation, you will use a minus. You do the opposite of that. As far as the multiplier, you multiply by the reciprocal of this number. So what's the reciprocal of 3? What's the reciprocal of 1/5? 5. What's the reciprocal of B? 1 over B. So you're going to take your X's and multiply them by the reciprocal of that. Now, here's why the negative thing doesn't necessarily mean opposite. If you just have a negative 5, what's the reciprocal of negative 5? Negative 1/5. The negative kind of has to stay with it. So if you think of it that way, that's why like the negative stays. But it's the actual factor that you're multiplying by that's opposite. Does that kind of help clarify with the negative? Maybe a little bit, I don't know. And then you're going to do the opposite operation of C. In this transformational form, this is written as a subtraction of C. So in my table, I need to do a plus C. So that just means it's going to be your opposite there. So this will help you build your rule. You do not have to memorize this. This is just kind of, hey, piecing it all together. This is where they all go. Yeah.
Do you have to multiply 1/2 B to C?
What?
Like, you know how B's in like, not B would be
That's what I'm about to say next. Okay, so no. The answer is no with that. So do y'all also notice right here how our B value is factored out? It's like B times X minus C. That has to happen, okay? We're going to start to like drill you on that next unit, but you always have to, I'm going to make a note right here, that your B value, it will be set up like this for you on this test, because this is more advanced, but we'll get there. B has to be factored out. So it's got to look, if you have a B and a C, it's got to have this double parentheses situation going on. Like the function you're talking about, open, B value, open, X plus or minus whatever, close, okay? And that's important. That's just how transformational form is set up. It's going to be like that all year long. Don't worry about it right now. It's going to be set up correctly for you right now. We will grow on that, okay? But let's just go ahead and make the note about it. And all you do with that B value is multiply it by your X, do that first, and then add or subtract whatever, okay? This is a good sheet to study. Flip over. We're going to do 16 through 18 right now, and then we'll go back to the writing. You will have test questions that ask you to describe transformations, like 16, 17, and 18, okay? This is like the back of the pink sheet. So this will help you too on the graphing, because I'm going to be giving y'all way more than one transformation at a time, and we have to be able to interpret each of those and know what it's doing. So let's look at 16. F of X has been transformed into this guy. Describe the transformations. So the first thing I would do is go and label what each of those numbers are. 1/2 is a what? A, B, C, or D? It's an A because it's outside. -5, that is a C, plus 3, that's D, okay? So then I need to describe what they actually do. There's 3 transformations here. Let's talk about the A value of 1/2. A values are going to be your vertical stretches or compressions. You need to know that. But it's a 1/2. So is it a stretch or a compression?
Compressed by 2.
You don't flip this one. This is a vertical. This is a compression. Do you see the abbreviation that I'm doing? I'm okay with that. Okay. less is more sometimes, by 1/2. There is no flipping with the A value, okay? It's just straight up. So remember, your A value, it's a vertical stretch or compression. If it's between 0 and 1, it's a compression. If it's bigger than 1, it's a stretch. If it's negative, it's a reflection. Yeah.
So is it a never mind. I forgot the question.
Okay. If it comes back to you, let me know. Yeah.
Is A always vertical?
A is always vertical because it's outside. Okay? All right. C value of -5. This is inside. The pluses and minuses are your slides. Inside's opposite. So we're not going in the negative direction. We're really going in the... So we're going right. How many? 5. D value +3. What does that do? Up 3. So this is all this question is asking you to do. To help you with the actual graphs, I want to write what your table would say. Okay? Just to help you. My x's, the only transformation on my x is the 5. So my table would say x plus 5. That's how I would change all my points, which you don't have, but this is bonus, okay? Right here. My y's, what are you going to do to your y's?
+3.
1/2,
Yes.
then add the 3. Okay? This is, are we all clear that this is not your actual answer? This is just like to help you with other stuff. Did you remember your question?
Yes, I did. So why can we not flip 1/3, and why do we not flip the 3 for the inverse of it?
Because these are adding and subtracting transformations. You only do the reciprocal when you are doing a multiplier.
We put that in there.
So we flip the 5.
Figure out what the point.
You change the operation because it's inside. So it's really you're adding 5.
Yeah. We change the 5 and we don't change the 1/2.
Right, because it's outside. Anything that happens on the outside never changes.
Okay,
It just falls.
Mhm.
Okay, let's look at 17. This is getting a little bit beefier. So we've got a negative in the front. What is that? A, B, C, or D? That's an A. Okay? You got a 3 already factored out. See, I told you I'd take care of you on this. So 3 is, but it's inside, so that's a B, and that's a multiplier. You got a +6 on the inside, that's a, and then you got a -4, that's a D. Okay? Can I change this just a smidge for you? Let's do a -2 in the very front. Okay? -2. It's still A. A is still -2. But I want to point this out to you. Okay? With A's and B's, think of the negatives as their own transformation. So like when you're writing your little bullet points, you have a negative, which is a reflection. You have a 2, which is a separate transformation. Then you got the 3, the 6, and the 4. There are 5 answers we're going to get right here. Okay? If the A value is negative, what is that doing?
Vertical reflection.
That is a vertical reflection. What's the other way that you can write that?
Reflected over X.
Well, I would actually write that out. Reflect X axis. Okay, I will accept either. You do not have to put both, but you need to know that those are both the same thing. Okay? And if you're trying to write the axis, it's like the alphabet. X comes first. So the negative on the outside, the first thing you see, that's just going to reflect the X. Okay? That is what the negative does. I changed it. I put a 2 right there. What is that 2 doing? Just look at the 2.
Stretch by 2.
That is a vertical stretch by 2. So do not group those together. They are 2 separate transformations. Please don't put them together. You with me? That's why we put like the absolute value bars on here, because it means like, hey, just look at the number, ignore the negative. All right? 3. B values are tricky. I want you to watch how I do this. Okay? I know that a B value is inside, so I know it's going to be horizontal. So I'm going to write an H for horizontal. I know that with the B value, I have to use the reciprocal. So I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to write the reciprocal of 3, which is 1/3. No negative, just positive. Okay, I always put the factor first. What does a fraction make me think is happening?
Compression.
compressions. So this is kind of my workaround with B values because they're confusing. I know it's horizontal, committed to that, it's on the inside. I write by the reciprocal. If the reciprocal is a whole number, I know that's got to be a stretch. If the reciprocal is a fraction, it's got to be a compression. Use it or not, I think it will help you. Taught this class a long time, but you do you. Plus 6 on the inside. That's a slide, but it's inside. So which way are we going? Minus 4 on the outside. Down 4. So what would your rule look like in your table?
Negative.
You want to do? Oh, let's do y first. I always do y first because I like that one better. What are your y's going to do?
Negative y minus 4.
Negative 2y because I changed the problem.
Oh, you changed it.
Minus 4. Yeah, I put a negative 2 in front to show you that the negative is a transformation and then the 2 is. And then what about your x's? 1/3 x minus 6. Okay? All right, let's do 13 and 14 and then we're going to pink sheet. Okay? 13 and 14. Are we okay with these? With describing. You're going to be asked to describe a couple times. Okay? All right, 13 and 14. These are writing. Now that you kind of have practiced like what everything tells you, now I'm going to say, hey, here's a whole slew of transformations. Put them in the right spot. Okay? So f of x was transformed to create g of x. That means our answer, you have to put this. I will take off points if you don't write an actual equation. G of x is what we're creating. Okay? G of x is transformed from what? So when I have my equation, I need to have f parentheses in there somewhere. I'm just kind of putting it in the middle because I'm changing f of x to get to g of x. Are we okay with that? Okay, now let's put the numbers in. F of x has been vertically stretched by 2. Is that an A, B, C, or D?
A.
That's an A. So do you change anything with that? Nope. Where does it go?
In front of the F.
In front of the F. 2. Check off. Horizontally stretched by 4. Horizontally stretched is a B. So it's got to go on the inside. But you have to write it as the reciprocal. So instead of a 4 on the inside, I'm going to put 1/4. Open up a parentheses. Check. Okay. Then I'm going to put an X right here because I've got to have an input at somewhere. Shifted to the right 6. Right's the positive direction. So what do I put in my equation? Minus 6, close, close. Did y'all see how right after I wrote 1/4, I opened up a parentheses? You've got to write it factored out like that. And it's kind of weird, but you're going to have to do it. Make sure you practice that. Up 4, that was a C. Up 4, plus 4. Done. Let's try one more together, and then I'm going to give y'all some time to work on your own before we do a check for understanding. Okay, hopefully after today, everything, all the puzzle pieces are going to go together. F of x was transformed to create g of x. How do I start? G of x equals, and I'm going to go ahead and put F parentheses right there. Okay, because that's what I'm working from. All right, we've been shifted left 8.
Plus 8.
So I need to put
Would you need a second parenthesis?
yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm going to need a second parentheses because there's something horizontal. So you might just kind of have to like maybe erase if you need to or squeeze something in there. Okay, left 8. Inside the parentheses with the X, I need to put a X
Plus 8.
plus 8 and close it off. Okay, that takes care of that. Down 6.
Minus 6 at the end.
Minus 6 at the end. Because this was a C, this was a D. Check. Reflected over the Y. This is why I've been stressing that y'all need to know that reflecting over the Y is the same thing as a horizontal reflection and vice versa. Because if I give it to you this way, you got to know where the negative is. Remember, it's like the alphabet. X comes first. So do I put my negative outside or inside?
Inside.
Inside, okay, because it's over the Y. So put a negative right there. Be careful with that. Warning, warning, warning. I'm pretty sure it's worded reflect over the X or the Y. I don't think it's worded vertical or horizontal reflection. Horizontally compressed by a factor of 2. Is that an A or a B?
A B and it's
I said
positive.
B. Do the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. And then you don't have an A value. Okay? So, pink paper. Get the pink paper out.
They're all pink.
Oh, yeah, they are pink. The single paper. Okay, I need a... Does anybody not have anything done on the pink paper at all? Is yours... No, you have something done. Let me get it. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Listen here, because I also botched this assignment. Look here. Look here. Shh, stay with me. Stay with me. Okay? All right. You have on the front, you got a graph. New little monster. He's so cute. And you got a table. Okay, here's just a list of things that I did incorrectly. No instructions whatsoever. Okay, so here's what's going to look like on your test. Your test is going to ask you, I'm going to put kind of a list of things you got to go through. It will ask you to list the transformations. So you need to practice doing that with these problems. Okay, so I want you to tell me bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. List the transformations. Yes. You want to listen to this. I didn't, because I'm giving you more. I want you to list the transformations. I want you to, number 2, make a table. The table is already there, but it's a little bit different than how we did it in the notes. Why? Because I'm dumb and didn't look at it before I made it. How you can set this up is write how you're going to change your X's in this column. Write how you're going to change your Y's in this column. So, like, write your rule. Don't write what I'm writing. I'm going to put it in general. 1 over B, X minus C, and then A, Y plus D. You put numbers in based off of this story, okay? So write your rule, and then these guys will give you your new points. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. I did it differently than the notes because, like, I'm just a dummy sometimes, okay? So make your table. What else do I want you to do? I also want you to graph. I think you probably knew to do the table and the graph, but it didn't say. And then I also want you to find domain and range. And you can decide what notation you want to do with that. You'll probably all pick interval because it's faster. Okay? So that's what you need to do on these problems. Now, hopefully now that we've practiced determining what everything is, that will help you with your list. There's your points. You're going to get some fractions. Oh, here's another thing I messed up. You're missing a whole point. Told you I'm just like really winning at life right now. It's on the original graph, but for some reason I left it off of this. I wish I had an excuse. I do not. Don't be like me. 4 and -2. Okay? So that's the front. The back is just like what we did in the notes. Writing, describing, all that good stuff. So we're going to work on that. The other thing we're going to do, and then I'm going to give y'all some time to work. The other thing is, this is kind of a review over lesson 2.3, okay? It's words. They go pretty fast, but it's just like, what does it mean for your graph to be positive? Like, can you tell me that? What does it mean for your graph to be negative? Write some domain and range and interval notation. It's kind of just like, you're not going to have test questions necessarily like that, but this is to help remind you of what to do with that stuff. And then there is a graph, and it asks you to do these things here. So I'm going to give you probably a timer of, 25 minutes, maybe, we'll see, to work on these two things. The answer keys to these two things are on Canvas for you to check. Practice sheet, attributes, warm-up sheet. Then we're going to CFU. Okay? Ready, set, go. Going to start the CFU in a minute. The CFU is only over 2.3 and 2.4. So that white paper that I gave you, there's an answer key on Canvas. The front was mostly words. It's just for you to kind of like know the vocab. If you don't do the front, that's okay. The answer key is up here for you to kind of see what's going on. The back is more like what you're going to see on this, okay? I would suggest, if you have a highlighter, get a highlighter out for the check for understanding that we're about to do. Please listen. Please listen. Stop talking. Okay? Pay attention. The check for understanding and the test, I think, really where I'm going to be picky about notation is with domain and range. It will say, write the domain in this notation, write the range in this notation. Positive, negative, increase, decrease. You're cool to use intervals. All good with that. Reminder, with positive, negative, increase, decrease. Constant also. I told y'all just use parentheses on all of those. Parentheses with those. If you've got multiple intervals, you put the union sign in between to separate those. You need to do that. You're always writing in terms of the x values. So kind of take your points back to the x-axis. That's where stuff is happening there. The other, the back page of the CFU is going to cover this transformation sheet. I am working on editing these. She did not put on the keys that were there. This is fixed now. She didn't put the factors that they're stretched or compressed by, and I figured out how to edit it. So I'm doing that. So the big old handwriting that looks not nice is mine. I do want you to put what factors they are stretched or compressed by. And I'll make sure the test review is updated as well. When you finish your check for understanding, hold on to it, but I'll put the test reviews up on this front table. Just come grab a test review and you can start working on that. We're going to grade the CFU together, but if you're done, I want you to at least be able to work on the review, okay? You know everything. You've got Delta Math. You've got extra Delta Math if you need help with transformations. You have a test review. You have all this practice. You have your notes. If you want to study for this, open this, pack it up, and look at it, okay? There's things that we starred. There's definitions. This is a test, though, that it can be really easy, or it can be, real bad if you don't know what the words mean, okay? So it is one that I do think you're going to need to review for and study for. My suggestion, there are 2 graphs on 1. It's highly likely that you will see something with 2 graphs on 1 again, okay? Suggestion here, with your highlighter, which you can borrow on the test if you need one of mine, if you happen to see this again, is I would highlight one of your functions so you can really differentiate between the two. If you got 2 highlighters, highlight them in separate colors. Because I'm bouncing back and forth on what I'm asking you to find and which function I'm talking about. So you really got to pay attention to which one is f of x and which one is g of x. I would be prepared to do this again, okay? Pay attention to the notation. There are arrows. You might want to draw those in as well. Arrows on this and on that. Okay, I'm going to make them big and obnoxious. So there's a lot of questions, but these should go quick. Look at the right graph, the back, flip over. Gosh, I dropped the ball again. Flip over. You need to, are you flipped over? On number 8. List the transformations. And find domain and range. Okay? Ready, set, work. When you're done, hold on to it, pick up a test review.